Well, hello. I am hoping that I have done everything correctly and that we are actually streaming live on all the different places we're supposed to be streaming. Um, I have a new connection on LinkedIn. Awesome. Okay. My clock says it is just now 3 o'clock, and I want to welcome you to my very first inaugural launch live broadcast on LinkedIn. I'm live streaming. Now, I did a test on Friday of last week and got a really interesting, good response. Connected with some people I'd never connected. Well, it'd been a long time since I connected with them, and I wanted to thank them. It was encouraging. This is the first of a regular series of live broadcasts on LinkedIn that we're going to be doing. I'm going to be doing. Hopefully, you'll join me on a regular daily basis, Monday through Friday. I've got a slide up I actually meant to save for later, so I'm going to come back to that. That's actually what we're going to be talking about, why start a business and what do you do when you start a business. But I want to thank everybody for joining today. So why do a live broadcast, and what's in it for you and what's in it for me? Well, hopefully what's in it for you is some good ideas on how to grow your business faster. I'm going to, here in a few minutes, introduce myself to those of you that don't know me and explain to you why I've decided to do this. But first, I want to go through a quick introduction of what we're going to be covering in the weeks and months to come, because there's a lot to cover. Business is, I think, fascinating as a field of study, and there's always something new to learn. There's no shortage. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how I'm going to approach the subject, and that is as follows. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm going to be talking about what I think of as startup and growth essentials. The topics will be generally drawn from the class that I teach on entrepreneurship at UT Arlington. I am an adjunct professor at UT Arlington, and I have been since 2013, so about 8 years now. And I teach two classes. One of them is on entrepreneurship and small business management, and the other class is on strategy for graduates, students that are graduating, and it's called the capstone course. So the Monday and Wednesday conversations that I'm going to be having on this live broadcast are going to be centered around startups and growth essentials. We're going to be talking about sort of the entrepreneurial experience. What does it take to be a good entrepreneur? What do you, when you look into or think about starting a business, what are you getting yourself into? I will tell you that as a serial entrepreneur for 30 years, I have been self-unemployed probably as much as anybody in the unemployment line. That just means that an entrepreneur can't always count on an income stream. We're going to talk a lot more about that. We're going to talk about the entrepreneurial environment and the importance of creativity and intellectual property. We're going to talk about doing things to analyze your business or your business idea. We're going to talk about feasibility analysis, SWOT analysis, 5 forces analysis. We're going to talk about analyzing your competitive environment. We're going to talk about maybe the single most important concept in the world of business, which is creating a competitive advantage. What is that? How do you build one? How do you sustain it? How do you make it significant? We're going to talk about business models, what they are, what they mean, how to design one, and we're going to talk about business plans. There's a lot we can go into on business plans. That's gosh, you could teach a whole course on business plans. And so we're going to do a good dive into it. I'm going to show you a spreadsheet that's a wonderful tool for predicting the future, to be able to know how much money you need when you start a business, when it'll expect to turn around, and how much money it'll make. to help you analyze whether it's a good idea. So all of these things will be topics, these and much more will be topics that we'll talk about in the arena of startup and growth strategies. One of the really important topic areas, which not listed on my little chart here, my little graphic, but we're going to talk about marketing, and we're going to talk about capital raising, how to raise money. I have been blessed in my life to raise a little over $80 million. I did about 55 million of that, 54 exactly, through an IPO that I did, but I've raised another about $30 million for a variety of businesses and activities that I've been involved in. And so I'm going to share with you what I know about how to raise money and hopefully help you in that arena. So these are the topics in general that we'll have on a Monday, Wednesday schedule. Now, that covers business startup and growth essentials. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to be talking about a little bit more of an advanced sort of topic, and that is strategy and creative advantage, competitive advantage. So really, when you think about strategy, it really is all about building and sustaining a significant long-term competitive advantage for your business. So how do we do that? Well, you start by looking at the internal and the external environment that your company works in. It does include things like a SWOT analysis and 5 forces analysis. So we'll elaborate on those things and go do a little deeper dive when we talk about those. We're going to talk about intellectual assets, which is way more than just copyrights and patents and stuff like that. We're going to talk about creating a competitive advantage, which is literally everything that we're talking about is related to creating a competitive advantage, but there are specific strategies that you can employ. We're going to talk about business level strategy, which is the strategies that you use to compete within a specific industry. We're going to be talking about corporate level strategies, which are the strategies that you employ as you manage a corporation that has multiple different business industries or units that it operates. And we'll talk about international strategies. We're going to talk about the concepts of corporate governance and organizational structure and organizational culture. We're going to talk about leadership, ethics, and organizational learning, creating a learning organization. We'll talk about innovation and building a corporate entrepreneurial environment so that your corporation encourages entrepreneurship at all levels. These are all things that I think of as being a little bit more advanced. They're topics that we cover in the strategy class that I teach for UT Arlington. And they're things that businesses may not start off thinking about, but if you're going to grow your business, you're going to want to think about these things. And so we're going to talk about them and give you some ideas as well as learn from you. That takes care of Monday through Thursday. On Fridays will be devoted to an entrepreneur interview. Now, the entrepreneur interview is actually something I encourage my students to do in the entrepreneur class. But, talking to other business owners is a great way to learn. And so I'm going to interview a different entrepreneur each week. And one of the things I'm going to ask them a lot of questions. Certainly, it's going to be an opportunity for them to talk about their business, but really, it's mostly an opportunity for us to learn the lessons that they've learned. And those are both good lessons and bad lessons. I mean, every entrepreneur I know has struggled at some point in the course of their path to success. And so we're going to find out from these entrepreneurs what their struggles have looked like, how they've overcome them, what kind of advice they would give, and what they wish they had known now that they didn't know when they started their businesses. But first, and for just a couple of minutes, and I won't do this every time we get together, But I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. Now, those of you that are on LinkedIn can certainly easily go to LinkedIn and get a get a profile of me and see what see what there is to see. But I thought I would give a little introduction, and bear with me a little bit as I figure this stuff out. I am not sure, can somebody, if there's anybody on this broadcast, and I have no idea whether there's anybody out there or not. If there's anybody on this broadcast, could you put something in the chat and say howdy so that wait a second, I've got comments up here. There we go. Randall Mills. Okay, Randall Mills is here. Randall, thank you for tuning in. Great. Now I know that at least somebody is out there and listening in. So I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. Whether you've been in business for a long time or not, have almost certainly attended presentations where somebody's standing up on a stage and they're telling you how to do stuff. And they're the font of wisdom. They're just blessing you with all the wonderful knowledge that they have. And you should always ask the question, two questions: what makes them qualified to tell me what they're telling me? And what's in it for them? Why are they telling me what they're telling me? I mean, those are two fundamental questions. Everything you hear from anybody throughout life, you need to filter through those two, if not more, but at least those two things. And so I want to introduce myself so that you know why I think I'm qualified to be on this broadcast and share with you what I'm going to share over time. Well, first of all, I got an undergraduate degree in accounting. Now, I will tell you, I got that degree at the age of 28 because when I started school at the age of 17, I dropped out after a couple of years, bought a motorcycle, thought I needed to be easy rider and tour the country. My parents quit paying for my education. I had to go back to work and go to school, and I had to pay for it myself. And it took me a lot longer than I thought it would. Idiot, foolish me. I could have gotten a degree by the time I was 23 or 22 or so years old, but it took me until 28. So I was a late bloomer. I got my degree in accounting from UT Arlington in 1982. And then I pursued the path of becoming a CPA. I went to work for Arthur Andersen for a year. Quite honestly, did not enjoy that. It was the big accounting firm. I thought working 200 hours of overtime in a year was a lot of work. Little did I know that as an entrepreneur, I would scoff at a mere 200 hours of overtime. But I left Arthur Andersen after a year, and I started a gaming company back in the days when Mrs. Pac-Man was the rage. And I started a gaming company, and it failed. It went through a bankruptcy. There's stories there that I will eventually get to and weave into our conversation, but I learned things. I learned bankruptcy is painful. And it is certainly not something that I'd wish anybody to go through, but I did learn a lot of lessons from that. I went back into the world of accounting and actually finished, got my CPA, started a CPA firm with a partner. And then after about 4 years of horrifically long tax seasons, decided I did not want to be a CPA any longer, and I sold my interest to my partner and I moved on. And I got involved in an optometric network here in the Metroplex called First Eye Care. I helped them grow from 7 doctors with 6 offices to 19 doctors with 21 offices across the Metroplex. That was in the first 12 months. The second 12 months, we kind of consolidated operations. And then I went and joined another company and traveled around the United States, helping to organize optometric surgical networks, optometric and ophthalmic surgical networks. I went back to school in 1990, spent a couple of years again at UTA. I tell everybody it's an MBA in international business because I took every master's level class that I could. UTA technically doesn't offer an MBA in international business, at least they did not then. And but you know, America's a wonderful place. You can tell people whatever you want to. And so I told them I had an international MBA from UTA, and I wanted to go out and get involved in international business. Unfortunately, that wasn't really in the cards. It was not possible for me to go to Eastern Europe, which in the 99, 92, 93 timeframe was basically becoming non-communist. It was the Soviet Union was collapsing. There was a lot of opportunity there. I didn't do that. The Asian Pacific Rim I couldn't go to. So I got involved in Mexico. I wrote a book, Mexico, the New Land of Opportunity. That was the second book I'd written. I started a publication, and I basically sold information to U.S. businesses about opportunities in Mexico for 93 and 94. And then in December of 94, Mexico devalued the peso, which put that business out of business. I struggled. I literally became homeless in the spring of 1995. And it was while I was in that condition, that stage of my life, that I was blessed with an idea. And I literally was able to get involved in the internet as a result of a vision that the Lord provided me. And I started a company called FlashNet in the summer of 1995. And over the next 3.5 years, we grew that company to almost 400 employees, 70,000 square feet of space, a nationwide network of over 250,000 clients. And then we took it public in March of 1999. I continued to be involved with that company for about a year after we went public. We sold it to Prodigy, Southwestern Bell, that of course now is AT&T. And that was all consummated in the summer of 2000. I got involved in another business, a startup business, in the fall of 2000. And that failed when 9/11 happened. We were unable to get funds. And then I started another company, Net Offer, which led to the company that I'm involved in now, which is Apricot Rocket. Ever since 2000, I've had a pretty steady flow of consulting agreements and relationships with people, businesses. I got into the software development business in 2005, and I still am. And I was invited by UT Arlington to be an adjunct professor in the fall of 2013. So for about 8 years now, I've been teaching at UT Arlington in addition to the other things that you see. I personally feel driven and called to a ministry of helping businesses. The vision that I had in the summer of 1995 was that my future was tied to the internet and helping people. And I have been committed and devoted to that ever since that time. I particularly like helping small businesses solve the single biggest problem that they have. And out of the 30 million or so small businesses, and I mean under 20 employees, that exist in the United States, they all have a common problem, and that is they don't know where, many of them don't know where their next customer is going to come from. And everything I do is targeted at helping small businesses solve that problem. And quite honestly, that's exactly what this live broadcast is devoted to, is helping small businesses solve the problem of knowing where their customers are going to come from, how to create a steady pipeline of customers, clients, whatever you call the people that you sell things to. And so we're going to spend the majority of our focus on that aspect of the business world, how to create more business for small businesses. Again, this is something I'm passionate about. I feel like it's my purpose in life, and every thing that I do is centered around that activity. Now, I'm going to load, as I look away here, I'm going to load something I want to talk about, which is an important thing, and that is, why do people start businesses? And there's a lot of different answers to that question. Why do people start businesses? And, you know, there's a lot of, I don't have every answer listed. There's probably a slightly different answer for almost everybody that has ever started a business, but it generally falls into one of these categories, and that is to make money. Now, I will tell you, if the only reason you start a business is to make a lot of money, You probably could do exactly that by just being really good at what you do and working for a big company. The reality is the vast majority of entrepreneurs, if you have a spectrum, let me see how I do this. Okay. If you have a spectrum where over on this side, it's failure, and on this side, it's massive success. Most of the people in the world of entrepreneurship spend the majority of their life in the middle to the lower end of the range. You know, you hear about the Mark Cubans and Mark Zuckerbergs, the Larry Ellisons, the Steve Jobs, and the Elon Musks of the world. They get a lot of visibility and notoriety. But the reality is the vast majority of people that start a business struggle for many, many years before they ever have great success. And that's sad. It's not necessary. There are lots of things that you can do to shorten the time that it takes for you to become successful. There is no single magic bullet. But if the reason that you're starting a business is to make a lot of money, you probably have an equally or even better probability of achieving that goal by just simply working in a corporation, become really good at what you do, and move to the top ranks and make a lot of money, because you can make a lot of money working for a big company. A lot of people do. If your reason is to do what you like doing, if that's your motivation, that's a good reason. But you have to be careful, because a lot of people do what they like, and that's not what people want. I know lots of people that basically take what really is a hobby and they try to make a business out of it. And they tend to struggle long term. And part of the reason for that is because they don't really think through a lot of the things that we're going to hopefully help you think through before you start your business. And if you've already gotten into business and you didn't think these things through, maybe we can help you readjust your strategy and your approach to be able to make things happen faster. It might be that the best and fastest path for greater success financially is for you to change. We'll talk about that too, because that's a tough conversation to have. You might be doing what you do because you're good at it. And there's a lot of people that start businesses because they're good at it. You know, whether you bake pies like I think her name is Susan or Sally in the E-Myth book by Michael Gerber. Wonderful book. If you haven't read that, it's one of the ones of top 10 books, certainly in the world of business, to read. But, you know, maybe you make pies because you're good at making pies and you love making pies and your grandmother taught you how to make pies and all that. But ultimately, that's not a singularly significant enough reason to get into business. You also need to have maybe a bigger purpose. You can be passionate about something. Now, that's a great reason to be in a business, because that typically has an origin story that comes along with it. And people love origin stories. And so if you're going to grow a big business, it's very helpful to have a powerful origin story. And having something, a driving passion, typically comes with some sort of origin story. A lot of people start businesses just because they need a job, and maybe they've become unemployable. I know personally I'm unemployable. You do not want to hire me. Now, you might want to hire me as a consultant or something like that, but I'm not a good employee. I don't like people telling me what to do. I think I can figure things out myself. And quite honestly, a lot of times I go to work, I have in the past gone to work for companies, and literally in a couple of days or a couple of weeks, I think I know how to do it better than the people that are telling me how to do it. If that's you, then you might need to start your own business, because you are probably not a very good employee. You're unemployable. It could just be that you hate working for others. You want to be your own boss. You like responsibility, or maybe more importantly, you don't want to have to answer to anybody. I'd be really curious to see what your reason is. If you have just a moment and want to give me your reason in the chat, I'd love to see what some of the reasons are that why people started the business that they started. But, you know, I'll give that a couple of minutes and, you know, kind of come back and see what the reason is. But, you know, thinking about your reason, what is your reason for starting the business that you started? That's always an interesting conversation. Now, I'm going to click back over here and bring up another little graphic. We're going to cover a lot of stuff as I wait for the comments, if any, to load in here. We're going to cover a lot of stuff in this live broadcast over time. I'm going to actually have quite a few documents, slide decks, and things like that I'm going to make available. And for me to share those with you, I'm going to invite you to join a community that I'm part of and create an account where I'll be able to share that information with you. Now, one of the things that I do is I have a software called Apricot Rocket. And I think of it as being similar to Facebook and LinkedIn, but sort of filling the space in between them. Facebook is obviously great as a consumer connectivity tool. And they do a lot more than just that, but certainly they're the biggest, right? I mean, they're great at what they do. LinkedIn is great at helping you to make business connections. Apricot Rocket kind of fills the space sort of in between. We help businesses connect to each other. We help people connect to each other. We help businesses connect to people and people connect to businesses. And we use it as a community building tool, and we help businesses build a community. And so I want to invite you to get an account so I can share documents with you. And so the way you get an account is you go to LiveStreamLee.com, LiveStreamLee.com. And there you can create an account for free. You just click on the Join My Community link and create an account. Now, if you already have an account with Apricot Rocket and you haven't by chance joined that community, just go ahead and log into your Apricot Rocket account, join the community, and you'll be connected up. For those of you that don't have an account, this is free. It is a technology that has a lot of things going on that you could potentially use. These are things that I've developed to help small businesses solve the problem of answering the question of where's my next customer going to come from. There's a CRM with marketing automation capabilities. There's an email and text message marketing capability. There's a shopping cart. There's a leads program. There's a tremendous wealth of tools there that are all fully integrated, and they're free for you to create. Now, the link to LiveStreamLee.com actually takes you to a specific community that I've set up, which is where I'm going to be sharing the documents and information that I cover in this series of broadcasts. And so for you to have access to those supplemental tools and things that you can use to help you grow your business, you'll need to be in the community, and then you'll just have free access to all of that stuff. So this is how I'm going to deliver things to you. So if you have any questions, you'll be able to reach me. My email is lee@apricotrocket.com. I probably should have somewhere that I put that, but it's lee@apricotrocket.com. And, feel free to reach out to me at any time. You can go to apricotrocket.com. There's a phone number there. If you have a question, feel free to call me. I certainly want to address your questions and talk about the topics that you have that you'd like to talk about. So part of how this broadcast series will unfold will be determined by how you engage and tell me what you'd like to learn. I don't know everything in the world by any means, and nobody does, and you shy away from anybody that says they do, but I have a lot of experience. I've taken a company public. I've bought and sold businesses. I've had successful businesses. I've had businesses that have failed, which have been some of the best and worst lessons that I've ever had. And I'm going to share all of that with you. So feel free to tap in and let me know what it is that you would like to learn. So again, I'm going to come back now and see if there's any comments that are worth responding to. I see some people, Bruce and Randall and Bob. I appreciate you chatting in the chat group to let me know. If I've done this correct, I'm live streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube all at the same time. And I'm sure I'm not yet as good at operating this technology as I will become. So bear with me if you've tried to chat from some platform like Facebook or Twitter or YouTube and you've been unable to do so. I'll try to figure that out over the coming days and weeks so that we can have a more vibrant conversation. Thank you for tuning in. We are at the end of our 30 minutes, so I'm going to say this is a wrap, and we will see you tomorrow, every day at 3 o'clock Central Time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.